How would I treat my son if he came out as being gay? And do I feel my home is a safe space? So I would say that like my son is too young for me to give an honest answer. What I will say is that I'm gonna love him regardless. That love doesn't stop when if because of a sexual preference. Because that's all that is to me. All it is to me is a sexual preference. It's not like I go around and have sex in front of my kids with my old lady.
You wouldn't care if
You
your
know what I mean?
son like big
So
joints.
say again.
If he like big girls,
Hey, your
that's
preference
like
is your
your
preference.
preference. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the thing is that, and that's what in my opinion, that's where that whole thing goes to me. It's just a sexual preference. Like as far as I go, like you start talking about T's and different letters in that thing. I'm not going there, but for if my son decided that he felt that he was liking the same sex, that's just a sexual preference, and that's not as important to me as his character, as who he is. You know what I mean? I'm still gonna do what I need to do to raise him up to be a man that I feel like a respectable man. You know what I mean?
So you saying you're not raising people based on their sexual preference? You raising people
Yeah, your
to
sexual
be.
preference is aside from my teachings.
You're right.
I'm not teaching you your sexual preference. You know what I mean? I'm teaching you how to be a man. That's what I'm teaching. I'm not teaching you what you should like to have
So
sex
how
with.
would you act if your son came home and was like, I don't want to be Brandon no more. I'm Brandy. I'm not
Hey,
saying your real son's name, so
yeah. So honestly, I don't know how I would react to it. It would definitely be a burden for me. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be happy about it. But at the end of the day,
I ain't
I would
going.
have to figure out and talk to like my guys. I would have to talk with, you know what I mean, some people that's lived this thing. I would have to because I need to have the conversations
No,
to
we
be able
ain't.
to understand much better because I don't understand that.
You can't go for that. If he comes at depending on the age, I think
mm,
that the age of
Oh,
that
age does make
matters
a difference.
directly when we're talking about that conversation.
hmm
If you're
You said you can't go for what exactly? What you mean
if
by
your
that?
son came home and was like, I don't want to be Brandon no more. I want to be Brandy.
like, I wouldn't
Okay.
go for like
I
you
got
want.
questions that I just have questions.
What, but I also think like at a certain
What age are we
age,
I
talking about
still
right now?
named you Brandon though, but so
What
that's
hmm
gonna be the tough
but
part. But
what
it's
age
a
are you?
conversation to
What
be
age are we
had.
talking about right now? I want to. I'm just trying to
Well,
understand
Miss
your
Amy just put a
perspective.
comment here, so let's just use
But
this
let's
age.
not pivot yet.
But
We read that in a second.
if she has an
She had
example,
age 12.
Okay.
she
All
Like,
had
right.
age
All
12.
right. So is age 12? All right. Let's go age 12.
that's
Johnny.
still too young. Like I
Okay.
think that's still too young to have a
And
conversation
What
but
would
that's
you
what's
actually
being
say?
told,
about
and it's
to have a
actually being
conversation about sexual preference at 12. That is crazy.
Okay.
so.
Cool.
The thing
But so
about that is
what are you
that's
going? You
actually
going to tell them shut the fuck up, go in the room?
No,
So
we
what you going to say? Because
it's a
I'm trying to
conversation.
understand it.
and understand
You're
there
not
are
presenting
laws.
the conversation. He said
There are
he ain't gonna
laws
talk
being
about that.
put in place to where you can't say like you can't even speak it, or if your child wants to go and do this on their own, they can do it. These laws are being
Well,
put in place.
let's build up to that, but let's start there.
what at 12 if he had that
Yeah.
or I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna ask you why it like I'm a why guy. Like why are you feeling this? What made you say what specific thing triggered this thought, and then we can go and address it from that point and figure out why this thing made you feel that way. But when we're talking about sexual preference and your gender and stuff, you're a minor, and as long as you're a minor, I don't think we should have that. Like I think that's where we get lost in a lot of these conversations. Is we're talking about kids and like
Yeah, 12-year-old doesn't shouldn't have a sexual preference.
Oh no, for
exactly,
sure. But
exactly.
I think like we're don't go in pretend land because if we're saying this is a kid coming up to you saying that
Hmm.
they are having a sexual preference, and we do have to have that conversation,
And
and we
this
got to
is
figure it
real
out.
because we all
Because
know we
Hmm.
was being fast at 12. Like,
yeah,
let's
that's what
just
I'm
be
saying.
honest here.
Like I don't want to push it and pretend like as adults we shouldn't have like just random conversations about like what kids are doing at that age, and if we think they're like no, we shouldn't do that. But if my kid comes to me, I for sure think that it is important to like sit there and have the conversation.
Hmm.
But you
And
wouldn't just agree with him. Like if you thought he was saying something,
to me,
you would
I
try
don't
to
think
correct
I don't
said
think that
behavior, or you wouldn't just go along with everything your kid
But then the
said.
thing is
I don't
too.
let me get into it.
Uh-huh.
I think that it's not about agreeing or disagreeing. I think that like hearing them out and having a full form conversation is for me. That's what I think is probably the best thing. That's where like say the quote unquote safe space would be at. And I think that this also is a space where as parents, I think that there's a space where it's good to live vicariously and it's bad to live vicariously through your kids. And sometimes you got to tap out of like living vicariously through your kid and having them be exactly what you want them to be. Like you have to decide at a point sometimes, do you want your kid to hate you or do you want to live vicariously through them?
What I was gonna say is that like, and then I mean, even with her scenario, it's not like I don't believe that it's like a all of a sudden thing. Your 12-year-old comes and says,
Okay,
a
you
thing.
probably see the same.
There's some things that have come. This is years of this thing already. You probably already knew the thing, but you just ain't said it yet. You know what I mean?
so
And
I
you're
do
just
wanna-
in denial. You don't want that to be the case. But at the end of the day, I think that, and I could be wrong. Like I'm not going into like people being born away or not being able to be born away. What I'm thinking on where I was kind of thinking is like I think the level of intentionality, especially with boys, for me, like and I think that it's like well, I would say like my wife, she has my daughter like washing dishes now at 3 years old. You know what I mean? She's like putting the groceries away and doing all these things. And so with my son, there's a level of intention that I have to like get him to push him in a certain way as he almost like emulating the things that he sees me do. So like the hands on things like doing, I want you to get you a little set where you know what a flathead screwdriver, Phillips head screwdriver, you know what the screws look like, and you know what I mean. I think that there's a level of intentionality that we have to have with kids because if not, we're leaving it up for them to be able to try to decide some things that they're not ready to decide. You know what I mean? Asking themselves questions that aren't necessarily to be asked. Where idle mind. They always say the idle mind is what is it? An idle mind is
Devil's playground.
Devil's playground. So like I think that we have to be more intentional and hands on with our children's upbringing.
Let's get to the comments.
Yeah, it seems like we got some comments in there. What we got, Tom?
Miss Amy said, I have a friend who came out at age 12. He remained a virgin until he got married at age 31. How is it a sexual preference? I just say most men need to educate themselves on sexuality, gender identification, and emotional connection. Being gay just isn't about sex. What do y'all think of that?
Well, I mean, I don't know it's about who you choose to be with.
Being gay isn't just about sex. I think I don't.
I mean,
you would have to break that down to me. Being gay is specifically about.
I think
like
the only
sex.
thing that makes you gay
All right,
is. My bad.
Yeah, I mean,
he started yelling on me. What I was gonna say is that I think that like inside like the LGBTQ community, what I've heard also because we've had Bo on here who was a masculine presenting homosexual gay person. And like it's not about like specifically feminine traits or masculine traits. It's about like what your literal sexual preferences.
Right.
And that's also where like a divide inside the community, from what I understand and have heard, comes with when you add the T in there because of like it tends to play on what their sexual preferences are in comparison to like a physical.
What goes as preference to identity?
And identity.
It
preference.
changes the conversation from preference to identity.
Yeah, that's my opinion. Go ahead, Johnny.
Well, no, I just felt like, I mean, to me, I think there's only one thing that makes you gay is
the preference.
Well, it's when you
like
actually
just doing the act.
When you
it's
act on it.
doing the act.
When you
Yeah.
act on
So
your
to
preference.
say that it's not
being
about
masculine or feminine, like I don't think that those traits have anything to do with like your sexual preference or being gay.
right.
That's the toxic masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Rod, you had something for it, or you want to go? To
Oh
the
yeah,
rest of the
no, and
comments?
I was gonna say also, I could understand where a person may believe that men need to dive into and read literature on. I'm not interested.
Literature on what?
On like what her comment was like.
She said
what was it?
sexuality and gender identity. Something.
We need to be educated on it. We need. She said. I just say most men need to educate themselves on sexuality, gender identification, and emotional connection. So my thing is that like, hopefully I don't end up having to go down that road of things. And should I, then I'll begin to kind of dive into said thing. I'm not just on my own, you know what I mean, just gonna start diving. And just me being honest, I know I'm not going to do it. I'm not interested in the literature. I'm not interested in figuring out the thing. You know what I mean? I'm cool.
I'm interested in figuring out all things.
not.
So I, like,
I'm not.
If it's engaging enough,
I'm not interested.
and it's
Say,
something
I
that
ain't
can help me
reading that
inside.
book.
Yeah, I mean, if
Oh, not for sure, but the
comes to
thing
my
is-
doorstep, then I'm gonna have to figure out and educate myself on the thing. But I don't Yeah.
I get that. I know that I like social commentary in general. I think that I like interacting with people within my community often. And I find myself inside leadership spaces often with like younger kids, in which I know for me that is probably important for me to understand all of these dynamics that happen,
Mhm.
especially once you get into the range of high school kids and like dealing with high school boys and all of the emotions that come with that, with them hitting puberty, and it's high school girls as well. Like inside, whether you go sports, whether you go community relations, X, Y, Z. To me, the community is bigger than just only what's within my house. So
Mhm.
being equipped to have the tools to handle with like some level of education, all the things that I'm presented, I think that I find interest in it.
Right. Well, I'm gonna keep checking in with you on that education. I think that it'll be helpful, and I'm gonna check in with you from time to time to make sure you're getting your
Make
literature.
sure he reading his books.
Yeah, I would think. You know what I mean? I'm gonna buy you one too. I'll probably go ahead and go on Amazon and grab you one, and we'll. You know what I mean? I just keep up with your progress.
We're gonna put in Amazon. What gay niggas stink?
See, now you're going all the way out. Now you're going all the way up. You try to get us canceled on that. Nah, I'm not.
That's what he
But
gonna put in
I'm just saying.
Amazon.
I'm just saying that
Tell
I'm
me what.
pretty
Listen,
sure
I'm gonna search
there's
in
some
Amazon.
literature. I'm gonna make sure that
That book gonna.
What gay niggas think?
no, I'll read the preface. I'm gonna read the preface and make sure that it sounds like matter of fact, Miss Amy. I think that you should. I'm not even gonna try since they got so many jokes for me. I think that you should go to get Quintel some literature so that he can get
Oh,
abreast.
that's fucking.
But I
funny.
mean, and what you said sounds good. Like the idea, like I'm in the community. I believe that the community is not just in my house; it's outside of my house as well. And I need to be abreast to be able to speak with these young men. Because and also, like I said, your son is at an age where it's like he's in high school, so he is actually around different things, and he's you know what I mean. He has different questions. So like my children are 3 and 1. I ain't got there yet. You know what I mean? I haven't even, and that's why it's levels to parenting. Like I'm not on the level you on. I'm still in. You know what I mean? I ain't seen a boss yet. I'm still, you know what I mean, fighting the little dudes that you can just smack around. And we'll get to the boss level in probably about
Oh yeah.
5 or 6. That first boss comes.
Nah, I understand it.